Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, my fellow Chibits. Today, I am here to bring you an anime review of Terra Formars. Now, this week's episode keys in on Keiji's character, and we get some characterization and get to find out more about her personality. That's pretty much what this entire episode focuses on. It really is. It's just showing us Keiji and what his personality is, his goals, his reasons to fight, and stuff like that. That's pretty much what this episode does, and I will have to say that this episode does a damn good job when it goes to introducing Keiji. I think they pretty much added in everything that was from the manga in Keiji's backstory. They pretty much added everything into this episode, which is very good. I love the way they took the time to actually give Keiji his backstory. It seems like the studio that's currently animating Terra Formars is starting to slow down and actually starting to adapt this series properly, which is very good. I still have a lot of questions about some things they decided to skip last week, but I will talk about that in the later parts of this review. I just want to talk about this episode first. So the episode, we find out about Keiji and find out about his past, what led him to, go to Mars and get the surgery to go to Mars, pretty much. We find out what led him to those events. Now, in this episode, we find out he was a boxer. He was a really amazing boxer. He was a world champion. He was a badass, pretty much. Kicking ass, beating people up, and he was just amazing at what he was doing. And the thing is as he continued to fight, every Friday, he would go take a ferry to go to this island to meet his mother. He would talk with his mother on Friday. And the thing is his mother was very sick, sickly, and dying. We don't know necessarily what she was dying from, and I don't really remember if it was ever clarified in the manga or not, but we find out she pretty much was very sickly, she was dying, and, one event leads to another, and pretty much she passes away, which is very sad. And the thing is when she passes on, it's sad because he kind of gives up his boxing career because of certain events that happen around him. Like, for one thing, we find out, his sight, his retina or whatever was falling out. Now, I don't know necessarily what type of disease or condition that is, because I don't know nothing about eye conditions, but supposedly from what was in the dialogue, his retina was falling out, or, he was losing sight in his eye, and supposedly he quit boxing because of that, because he couldn't box anymore, and pretty much he had to get an average job. It looked like he was just a delivery man, pretty much, in this episode. And the things that we find out is that he went into debt to try to save his mother, because he no longer could box anymore, so he couldn't make that money to probably save his mother with a lot of money, so he actually looked at probably these people to gamble and stuff and asked for money, probably mob sharks and stuff, and he got any loans he possibly could to probably save his mother and get her the treatment she deserves. And the thing from the backstory we find out is that supposedly he was conned for his money, and he lost a lot of money and he could not save his mother in time, which is sad. It's fucked up. It really is. And it just shows you he lost his mother because he was conned, because of his eyesight. Since he lost his eyesight, he couldn't box anymore and have an actual legit job to be able to actually pay for his mother. So, finding out these events, it's really sad. I highly doubt it's as sad as Adolf. I don't think it's as sad, but it's still a sad backstory, and it allows us to grow connected with Keiji's character, and I felt like this episode did a damn good job when it came to introducing his character, along with giving us the characterization to make us actually care for him as a character. Getting into the other things of this episode I do want to talk about. These fights currently going on, for instance, Keiji's fight and the other fights going on in this little area, general area right now in this hole. These fights, technically, the beginning part of these fights were completely skipped over. I mentioned it last week or the week before. I mentioned that the fights beginnings were skipped over, and a bunch of Chibi said most likely they might try to go back to the events and re-explain them again like they did with Adolf. They showed the end events, and then they went back. Some Chibits were saying they might try to do that with this fight, but with this week's episode progressing for their fights and already finishing off Keiji's fight pretty much, it makes me question they're not even going to show the beginning fights of how it's set up, which has a lot of impact for a fight that's about to go on probably next week. So, yeah. I mean, I kind of probably understand why they decided to skip it, because since they decided to skip the first arc, like I said, and they were putting it in OVA type episodes, I'm guessing since technically majority of anime-only watchers not want to go watch an OVA series to understand the backstory to a series when it already should have done it in the anime, I'm guessing they decided to just cut over some certain information, for instance, the beginning part of the fight, that would have had it more emotional value to it, but it's fine. It's still fine, but it kind of irks me a little bit of how they had to choose an OVA route to be able to explain certain backstories, which could have had a lot more impact with certain characters, which I'm not going to reveal. So, overall, episode. For what it did in the progression of the characters and the characterization, it did a damn good job. It was a good episode. So, I can't complain much. Another wonderful episode of Terra Formars. They're back on track. They're still on track with the way they're doing the pacing now. They're not really doing nothing that's really bad. So, yeah, it's great. So, tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or not, wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.